Glad to have you joining us on a fresh edition of EdTech Mondays Africa. My name is Doreen Bira. On this edition, we shed a spotlight on upskilling educators to enhance EdTech delivery across Africa. Now, according to the Association for the Development of Education in Africa, also known as AIDEA, African countries are making significant strides towards integrating technology into education, but educator preparedness remains a key constraint to effective delivery. The 2023 study on the use of ICT in education and remote learning during crises and the required investment in digital transformation for African countries sheds a light on this reality. The report highlights that while national policies increasingly promote ICT in education, the fundamental systems to equip teachers with the skills to leverage EdTech remain weak or underdeveloped. Some of the recommendations from the report include prioritizing digital skills development for all teachers, adding that teachers need to be equipped with the ability to not only teach digital skills as a subject, but to make use of digital tools to support teaching, learning, and assessment. This edition spotlights the Mastercard Foundation EdTech Conference Recommendation 5, enhance delivery capacity along the EdTech value chain by upskilling teachers to deliver learning using EdTech and supporting learners in education systems to work with tech-enabled processes and data. So the question is, how can we strengthen teacher capacity to deliver high-quality, tech-enhanced learning? Allow me to introduce our panelists who are joining us all virtually, and excited that this is an all-female panel, no pun intended. We've got Vanetta Blessing Kadi Kanneh, who is a teacher, Physics Lab at William V.S. Tubman School in Monrovia, Liberia. We've also got Chantal Kabanda Dusabe, who is the Technical Lead Africa Center for School Leadership, also known as ACSL. She is based out of Kigali, Rwanda. We also have Aida, Asseged, who is the founder and CEO, Education Matters in Ethiopia. We've got Martha Jesuleke from Obele Community Senior High School in Lagos, Nigeria. And we also have Judy Nyambura, who is an education expert from Kenya. Thank you all for joining us on this edition of EdTech Mondays Africa. It's such a pleasure having you all from different parts of the continent for this very important conversation. And so maybe to start us off, I'm going to start by asking the question, what has it been like adopting to technology in your over 20 years in the teaching profession? And I'm going to start with Aida for this one, so she can set the context for us.
So I started a little over 20 years ago. It's 2 decades in education. And I started in Addis when there was no internet in the home. There was no Wi-Fi. So anything that I needed off the internet, I had to go to an internet cafe, download whatever I needed to, print whatever I needed to. So it's been a journey. So over the 20 years, I have seen infrastructure and internet availability and Wi-Fi develop in Addis. It has been very difficult for educators in my country to apply the concepts of education technology, because that's more than just looking stuff up on the internet. And it's evolved. Education is ever evolving. And so it remains very difficult for us here in Ethiopia. But the 20 years that I've been here now, all the teaching facilitation or the learning facilitation that I do is online, and most of it is paperless.
What about you, Martha? Is it the same for you, or have you had to self-teach?
In 2021, it dawned on me that the world is evolving and I had to use technology to teach in the classroom. And so what did I do? I looked out for communities. And one of the communities that I've helped so far is the Teachers Lounge here at the CC Hub, Lagos. So it's a community where teachers come together and we are trained freely on different tools to use in the classroom, EdTech tools. And, our community facilitators go as far as bringing, EdTech users, EdTech developers to meet with teachers and also with test run, use these tools, and then we give them feedback on how they can do better, how they can improve on each of this technology. So students can now be creative in turning in assignment, turning in tasks, being creative in, not just limiting them to the ways they should answer questions, but they bring out their creativity using the tools that we have introduced them to. And even some go as far as using different tools that they have been able to learn by themselves to turn in assignments. So it's really been an wholesome learning experience for myself and the students.
Aida, I want to hear your thoughts, considering you're an English teacher, and so I would like to hear your thoughts on this one.
So I do English language arts, and it extends out to the humanities as well, geography, history, depending on the curriculum, whether it's IB or Cambridge or Pearson. There are business courses. It's completely been turned on its head just a couple of years ago because of the onset of AI. So it used to be that I, as an English teacher, or as any one of the humanities teachers, would say, okay, here's the prompt, here's the rubric, here's how I want you to go about it. And my students do everything online. They turn in everything online. It used to be that Google or Google Scholar, or to do their research, these were the tools that they had. And then there's a tool that I can use to put each and every single paper that is submitted through an app. And it tells me the percentage, because there's an app that compares the percentage of similarity to whatever's out on the internet. And so I find that pretty soon if I don't evolve the way that I teach and the way that I look at curricula and the way that I implemented it in with my students, there's no reason to do that anymore because AI will manufacture completely original essay. So it has been a challenge lately. But what I do is I also incorporate AI. So it's not just EdTech anymore. It's also I incorporate AI and I teach my students how to use AI, how to generate prompts. Often the education system often struggles to keep up with technology. That has especially been so for my country. We continue to struggle. And the schools that I work with are kind of on par because they're either international schools or private schools. But the majority of the nation is not there yet.
Judy, how does the government involve teachers in the content review or approval processes to ensure that the tools match the classroom needs in this case?
Since the introduction or the rollout of competency-based education, the Kenyan government, through the Ministry of Education, has emphasized inclusive stakeholder engagement, with teachers playing a very central role. So consequently, practicing teachers are involved in content development and also the review of curriculum designs, because in Kenya we have curriculum designs. That these are the documents that the teachers use to develop their schemes and their lesson plans, and also we call them curriculum designs. The teachers are normally engaged in the content development and also in the review. I think we can probably say that curriculum is the blueprint of teaching and learning in the classroom, because anything that happens in the classroom revolves around the curriculum, and the teachers are at the center of it because they are the ones who deliver that curriculum. Then from the curriculum, we have curriculum support materials, which are course books. These we refer to them as course books, and also teachers' guides. And these ones are developed by the publishers based on the curriculum designs. So the course books and the teachers' guides are all based on the curriculum designs, and they are developed by the publishers. The teachers are also involved in the approval process of the curriculum on the approval process of the curriculum support materials, that is the course materials and also the teachers' guides, to ensure that they are in line with the curriculum design.
Chantal, let me come to you because you are providing support to school leaders on how best they should train teachers at the different levels. How is that going so far?
focusing on school leadership, we know that whatever is done at school level needs to be supported by the school leaders. So school leaders create conditions for effective teaching and learning to happen at school level, including providing the technologies that are needed for teachers to be able really to operate as they wish. They also need to be really trained. I mean, teachers, even school leaders themselves, they need to be trained. So through Leaders in Teaching, we are supporting teachers and school leaders to have those skills, and including integration of technologies in their work, including leadership. So that's what we are doing, because we believe, like everyone has just said, that in today's world, technology-driven and rapidly changing world, it is important to really integrate technologies for effective teaching and learning.
So a few months ago, we spent some time in Johannesburg, South Africa, where we visited a school called Norwood Primary School in Joburg. And we wanted to find out how exactly they're integrating technology into their pedagogies. And let's take a look at this story, and we'll come back so Vanetta can tell us some of the challenges she's experiencing as a teacher currently in Liberia. But let's take a look at this story. Our focus on upskilling educators to enhance EdTech delivery led us to a school in Johannesburg, South Africa, where teachers have embraced digital skills. Norwood Primary School in Johannesburg is a public school with a growing focus on digital education. With training support and the right tools, teachers here are finding new ways to make learning more engaging, inclusive, and effective. How did this digital transformation begin?
So a very interesting story, actually a magical story, is that we didn't have a lab. So Norwood probably didn't have ICT. So it was the chalkboard method and then the textbook method. And then one day I got to school and I say, because our kids come from previously disadvantaged areas, let's just give these kids a chance at ICT. So I met with my team and then we came up with this idea, let's build an ICT lab. Through fundraising initiatives, we bought laptops, we came up with the design for this lab, desks, and also bearing in mind is that our teachers were not trained for ICT. The department hadn't offered us any training, we didn't have any resources. So what we did was that we have grade heads at the school. I started sending the grade heads for training with a company called Cubroid. So Cubroid does robotics for the Department of Education.
How better has the teaching experience been for the teachers since this lab was put in place?
So it's been absolutely amazing. So when we started, the teachers were scared. A lot of them didn't have background knowledge. They hadn't had experience teaching the kids. But through encouragement, they used to come in every day, do the programs. They had to build confidence, and I had to assist them build confidence. I would say they absolutely love it. What we've done is that we haven't separated ICT as a separate subject at our school. We've integrated it into daily teaching and learning.
What would be your recommendation for teacher training to equip them with the digital skills they need to be able to teach for better learning outcomes, but also for better teaching outcomes?
When you come into our school, we train you for ICT. And we have programs running where we continuously upskilling and training teachers. But it would be a wonderful thing for the Department of Education to get involved, like when you're at university, should be part of teacher training, ICT.
Are we all excited for our lesson today? Yes. Lovely. So today we are going to be doing mathematics, and we're going to be focusing on sharing. We all know how to share, right? Yes. Okay, lovely.
Tell me about how you're incorporating technology in your teaching methodologies and pedagogies.
We use your smart boards, we use your computers. We are fortunate enough to have a company called EduFen that came on board to work with Tenwood. So what EduFen does, it has programs that are educational. I love the program very much because it's very much aligned to the CAPS document. The CAPS document is a guideline of the teacher, what the teacher is supposed to be teaching. However, now it's coming to life when it comes to EduFen because it's digital. So the difference, what I can say is, in the olden days, we learned through paper and pen, and it was easier. We grasped it. It's fine. But now these kids that we are teaching today, they want to see. They want to see. And if you bring digital to their space through what you're teaching, understanding it's much more better. It's easier.
What kind of technology skills have you had to have for you to be able to conduct this class in a much more seamless way so that the kids don't feel like you're still catching on with technology?
So I had to first master the use of a computer, what information would I first need to in order to prepare a lesson. It starts from the preparation side of getting the correct content, getting the correct videos, getting the correct pictures in order to prepare for the lesson. And again, now operating the smart board and on its own, you need to be able to keep that, because now you don't know where to click. The kids are looking at you and they can see where to click. So you become a joke. So you start by mastering the skills of operating the equipment itself and engaging with the equipment and engaging with the learners as well. That's a skill that you need to have, because now if you focus on engaging with the equipment on its own, forgetting that this is a teaching moment, you need to engage the two, the equipment as well as the learners. So this is a skill that I had to develop as well as a teacher.
And now that we've heard from the teacher, would like to connect to the founder of EduFen, who is going to be talking to us about how the solution came to be and how he's been able to align it and even incorporate it into the teaching or curricula here in South Africa.
From a bowl back to the top or to another bowl. It does not matter if
you invented or came up with EduFen EduGames. Why?
When I was at communities, I was going out doing outreach work to do tutoring at high school level. I found that learners were struggling to understand maths concepts because they weren't understanding the language. They were actually writing exams in English, but they don't speak that at home. They're speaking Zulu or they're speaking Sepedi. So actually what I found is that they need to actually understand the maths terminology. So I created maths content, maths dictionary, so that they could understand the maths terminology. And then also I wanted to create, and I set out on a journey to create an EdTech solution where they can toggle between the different languages, and it doesn't matter what language they're speaking, they can then be able to succeed.
What kind of digital skills do you think teachers need to be able to navigate the adoption of technology in education?
In order to use EduGames, there isn't a lot of computer skills needed. But in order for other IT and e-learning solutions, it would be very useful if governments and organizations could help do basic computer literacy skills with the teachers. Especially with nowadays, the government wants to adopt coding and robotics. But if the teachers aren't computer literate, then we need to be able to train the learners. How they're going to be able to train the learners if they're not even computer literate.
What kind of support would you need as an innovator or as an entrepreneur who is creating content like this from the government for you to be able to mainstream it further than the learning institutions that you're currently piloting in?
So in South Africa, there's for many decades we've got like a cataloging process, which is very important, because you need to make sure that the content is aligned to the curriculum and that it is educationally sound and that you'll get the learning outcomes desired. So for books, we've had a catalog for many years. We've got a full screening process. My books have been approved and are on the Department of Education's catalog. But for e-learning, there is no area where there's a catalog or a screening process. So if we could create that to make it easier for the teachers to be able to decide what content to use, and knowing that the Department of Education has actually evaluated, screened and either approved or rejected it, that will, I think, help the schools adopt it and be able to make better choices and just work at the schools, basically.
Having heard from EduFund's innovator, what exactly are the learning and teaching outcomes of technology in education?
I think first of all, it'll be interest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you hook them up, now they're engaged. So you're getting everyone's attention now and concentration on the lesson. So, and when it's ICT based, now the engagement from the learners is more. So because now if you are giving these learners, it's a pen and paper, whoever is not able to read accurately, they're already frustrated, you're frustrating them. But now there's this engagement of the ICT involved, bringing what you're saying to life. So you have everyone's attention, and that's where you win all these learners with all these different barriers that they might be having academically. So yeah.
Okay, and from the teacher side, what teaching outcomes have you observed?
It makes things easier. It makes things easier from the planning itself. It makes easier. You are able to maneuver around the content that is brought through the CAPS and the ATP, and you make it more lively for the kids, and you make it more easy and simple, because they will just give you a book filled of these activities that are long, but through the use of computers and all these ICT gadgets that we're using, you're able to even just teach through a video, and it's a lesson on its own.
All right, so we took you to South Africa and now we're back into the conversation. Vanetta, I want to hear from you. How comfortable are you with the technology tools you're currently using? Are you experiencing any challenges, and how exactly do you think, you need to be supported to improve or become even better?
A bit 50-50 with the comfort of the tools that I'm using, but the major challenge I face in the classroom is this size of the classroom, because at the government schools, we're dealing with underprivileged children. So we're having close to 65 to 100 students per classroom. So bringing technology there, it requires a lot of resources. And if we're using a projector, it won't be visible for everyone about a class size of 100 person to see what we're doing. And I'm into chemistry and physics. So what I usually do is I use the assets and produce a PowerPoint or video that they can watch from YouTube that they can easily see, because we don't have the equipment like in the laboratory chemicals that they can touch or use themselves. So we usually just give them videos that they can understand from. But right now, we don't really have the equipment that we need. So if I want my students to catch up with something that I saw on the internet, for example, maybe is EdTech is an interface that uses physics and chemistry, and I brought that app and I want to share it to them, they will say, oh, we don't have access to internet, we don't have Wi-Fi. And there are not a lot of public libraries that have internet access or computers. So it's a bit difficult. So the class size is a problem. Getting the materials necessary to the schools is also a problem. So for me, I think that there should be more training for teachers, that teachers can be able to upskill basic computer literacy, because what happens is that there are new generation of teachers, and in Liberia, the new generation of teachers to the old ones, we call them BBC, born before computers, is a bit high, because the new teachers have come along with technology from college to teacher training programs to the classroom, but the old teachers need a bit of basic computer literacy for them to be able to teach their students. And the students will also need access to these materials, because hands-on in science, it makes learning easier. So if you can build a curriculum that involves everything is inclusive, that you can have written literature and technology, it is better for our students. So what we think is that there should be I would say, involvement of local universities, colleges, so that we can be able to provide these trainings, not just workshops, but it should also be something that can be a diploma, that you can obtain a postgraduate diploma, or Maybe it's a certificate that you can be able to use not only in government schools, but in any institution that you. So the major problem here now is the class size and then the access to these computers, or we say tech gadgets that they need to use.
Right. I love that. And I love that you have put it in such a comprehensive way based off of your experience as a physics and chemistry teacher. Martha, I see you smiling. You look like you want to add something. Is it on the innovation side or in the challenges?
As a teacher from a public school where we have a minimum of 80 to 100 students in a classroom, I wouldn't want to repeat these challenges that she has mentioned. However, one peculiar thing or two related to my school is unreliable electricity. So sometimes you go above your way to ensure you bring digital tools to the classroom, and then maybe you're done setting it up and the light just goes off. And then you have to start getting the generator, which most times distracts other classes because of the noise that comes out from the generator. Aside that, then we have this internet connectivity. Most times the connectivity is fluctuating. Also, there's this not clear stated policy by the government for the heads of schools, the directors, the management to incorporate digital tools in the classroom. So I recall then when I started digitalizing most of my things, I got some backlash from different people, but I was consistently doing it. You know, I see it, I was song with you, why go extra mile? Why do this? Why do that for students? Were this is provided for you by the government? And then I tell people, you don't have to wait for the government to do everything. If you want your classroom to be what you want it to be, you need to be intentional about doing some things beyond the ordinary, because the world has moved into the digital world and we can't afford to just remain redundant.
Aida, I'm going to come to you in just a short while, but I wanted to find out from Judy and Chantal, what standards or guidelines are in place to make sure that approved EdTech content equips teachers to deliver lessons effectively and also with the least distraction. In other words, internet has dropped, so this lesson ends here. Or electricity is out, so no more classes. And, you know, that kind of back and forth demotivates teachers on so many levels. Are there certain recommendations or guidelines you have in place that are making sure that, you know, teachers stay motivated? Judy, let me start with you, then I'll come to Chantal.
What I can say is that in Kenya, several standards and policy frameworks have been developed to guide the creation, evaluation, and deployment of digital educational resources with a strong emphasis on the teacher usability and instructional support. Kenya has implemented a comprehensive strategy to ensure that approved digital content resources support both the student engagement and the teacher effectiveness. And in addition to that, there are several standards and policy frameworks that guide the development of deployment of digital educational resources with a strong emphasis on instructional support. The Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, which is the institution that quality assures all educational materials that go to schools, has established detailed standards for educational apps and platforms, requiring alignment with the curriculum designs. These standards mandate the inclusion of teachers' guides, scaffolding in tools, and assessment rubrics to help educators integrate digital content into their lesson plans effectively. Additionally, KICD's participatory curation is the approval process, involves teachers in piloting and reviewing digital content resources, therefore ensuring that technology enhances teaching quality, not just students' consumption.
I like that. Chantal, you have something you want to add to what Judy has said?
Through our mapping, we found out that countries have the guidelines and the policies and the frameworks, but the question is not about having those guidelines, but the implementation is where the question remains. So what we're trying to do is to see in where these countries have been able to actually implement, because all the countries or most of the countries are now moving toward integration of technology in teaching and learning. But the issue is how, given all the challenges that teachers have just mentioned, you will see that countries are resharing the same challenges of lack of enough resources, big size at the classroom that are very, a big size of classroom, and it becomes challenging. So we try to find where actually some countries or schools, even going down to the schools where it has been possible, despite those challenges, to still integrate despite the problems. So the question is someone mentioned intentionality and tried to do, and in South Africa, the video showed is about someone went ahead and they did fundraising. That's the way actually we are encouraging leaders to really move out of the boxes and find a way, being creative and innovative enough to make sure actually technology is still integrated in their teaching and learning, because policies are there, but the question is how best and what are the conditions and resources available to make these policies and guidelines implemented.
All right, the implementation part, I love that. Aida, can you share an experience in your teaching profession that really helped you grow in your use of EdTech in a classroom? Because I think there's so many lessons we can take. Vanetta has just shared how she's navigating amid all the challenges. Looking at the learner to teacher or teacher to learner ratio, how are you making sure you keep up to speed or up to date with EdTech in a classroom?
I joined at a certain point in my teaching career. I joined an international school that everything that they did, they evolved with the time, and they had EdTech integrated into their teaching, into the curriculum and into the structure, like the structure of teaching as well. Yeah, so it's not just the curriculum that needs to embrace it, but also the structure of the school, everything. So they had a school management system where everything from attendance and grades and grading and assessments, everything was done online. Yeah. So for me, it was a crash course. This was about a little over 10 years ago. So for me, this was a crash course in EdTech. Yeah. And it helped me a lot because being in that environment forced me to upscale and upgrade as an educator. So I'm very grateful for having had that exposure here in Addis. But even now, this particular school, and I won't name names, but this particular school is the only one that does so at this level. There are a couple of other schools that do quite well with EdTech. And we're dealing with a generation now that's born into the information age. They're born into this. So for them, it's so natural, and we, the educators, we're from a time when phones were not necessarily mobile, So there's a huge generational gap, and there's a huge communication gap as well.
The Mastercard Foundation has got an EdTech fellowship program where we have young innovators come up with solutions for Africa's educational challenges. And it's called the Mastercard Foundation EdTech Fellowship. The foundation partners with tech hubs across Africa to look out for those innovations, just like the one you saw in South Africa. And we've been trying to figure out how exactly do we make sure that innovations meet today's challenges. Where internet is a challenge, are there offline solutions that these developers or innovators are coming up with that we can also blend into the education ecosystem? Let's hear some of those voices, one from a tech hub leader or a chief executive and also an innovator. Let's listen in to what they have to say.
I think by investing in the teachers and with Global Teachers Institute, not just teachers, it's also the students. So before they become teachers, I think we need to invest in them as well. Because a lot of the teachers that are coming into the system are going to learn the old techniques from the teachers that are very experienced but really scared of technology. So I think we need to invest in those young ones before they get trapped into the old way of doing things. Because you can have all of these lovely EdTech solutions, but if you don't train our teachers and teacher interns and people that are starting to get into the profession, you're almost wasting your time because you're constantly putting out fires. You're constantly going where the problem already is. How about we sort this out before it becomes a problem?
The other thing which is again extremely important is to invest in people. Education is all about people. If you push these tools to students, but teachers don't understand what is happening, then you'll be struggling to realize what you're looking to achieve. If you capacitate teachers, but the students are struggling, then you face the same challenge. So I really believe the first thing is to pay more attention on policies and strategies that will allow us to build systems for EdTech to scale. But second thing is to put more emphasis on people by building capacity of both the teachers and the kids that will be consuming these solutions.
I think if you listened to the first speaker, she spoke about making sure that the new teachers, the ones who are just getting into the system, don't get stuck into the old way of doing things. And I think that's something that Aida mentioned as well. But, as we bring this conversation to a close, what are the immediate needs in the teacher training that we need to address, or that need to be addressed in this case, in order for Africa's school leaders and teachers to be upskilled to meet not just the local expectations or standards, but the continental, the global standards as well? I'm going to start with Vanetta, then I'll come to Martha, Aida, and then Judy, and then I'll wind up with Chantal.
What I think we need as teachers is training for the upskilling, because there are a lot of technology or tech ed apps that can be used offline as well as online. But if you provide training for the teachers, they will be able to use them effectively in the classroom. So one of the initiatives I think that we can use is that bringing new teachers, they should grow with it when they go to college, and through teachers trainings, they should already be integrated into their curriculum system where they are learning to become a teacher, how to use these technology already. So when they graduate, they already have this hands-on knowledge about EdTech, instead of coming from college, going to teachers college and then getting into the classroom and having to start all over. So I think like the video, we learned that these kids already have technology with them. So the teachers too should grow with the technology as it evolves. So there should be workshops for teachers, and it should be a quarterly thing, because technology is evolving on a daily basis. So it should be a quarterly thing.
Great. Martha?
I would suggest that communities of practice is something very key, of which most teachers do not know that community of practice is very important. This is a community, a forum whereby you can demystify issues, areas you need clarity on, not necessarily getting it from the school setting. So I would encourage that, just like CCOB is doing right here in Lagos, Nigeria, other states in Nigeria and other parts of the country should bring to the awareness of teachers, because I want to believe that most teachers are not aware of the community of practice. So there should be more awareness on community of practice, and also more fundings for trainings. I understand, because I've once asked questions from the CCO Africa here in Lagos, in Nigeria, that who funds all the free trainings they give? So when we have partnership, when we have all support for the education space, more teachers can come in to receive trainings, and also support in terms of, spotlighting teachers who are actually making do with what they have already. You spotlight them, you support them, give them grants, give them laptops, give, support systems, community of practice, organizations, corporate world, support, and also spotlighting teachers that are doing so well. Then you begin to see that it will be like a candle that is, being lit, and then the whole environment will take up the challenge, and everyone will key into it.
Aida?
Ideally, what I would like to see for teachers is respect. I mean, everybody says, oh, but no, just really respect that is tangible. So yes, celebrations and appreciations for teachers. But practically speaking, I want to see like continuous professional development for teachers. And not just professional development, but personal development as well, to be able to work on themselves. And I want teachers to have a choice in teaching. Now, I speak from the context of where I am, but the vast majority of individuals who are in the teaching profession are stuck in it. They've come into it without meaning to, and they're always looking for a way out. And there are different layers for why that is, but I would like to see like tangible respect for teachers or as individuals, because we as teachers, we don't just impart information, we pour our lives out into our learners, into our students. Yeah. And the core of what has been my experience in teaching is it's a highly relational vocation. It's not like accounting where you're crunching numbers. No, it's highly relational. And at the end of the day, I don't know a teacher that doesn't come home completely drained. Just completely drained and not wanting to talk to another human being. It is very deeply draining. Yeah. And I would like to see the system acknowledge that with training, with salary, with and Judith said this is incorporating like bringing teachers into the curriculum crafting process. I mean, in many countries, and this is around the world, curriculum crafters have never worked, like never stepped foot in classroom. They're academics and they craft curricula, and teachers are there with 45 minutes or 90 minutes or however much period it is, trying to cram that, and it doesn't work. But when you bring teachers into the process and you respect their intellect and their decision making and you trust them, then you'll have something that works.
All right, respect to teachers. Judy, now that you are on the other side where teachers need to be respected, do you want to talk to us about that and what your final take is, really?
It is important that teachers are given skills to support learners with special needs, and also issues like to deal with such issues like gender biasness and all that, because these are things that you will not learn during training and all that. So I'm thinking that this is something that, because once in a while you will find in your classroom there is a learner who needs some special attention, and maybe as a teacher you do not know how to deal with that. So I think that maybe this can be included in the teacher curriculum on how to just deal with learners with special needs. That means inclusivity. Secondly, I just wanted to say that as many countries are now shifting to competency-based education, teachers need targeted preparation to interpret the curriculum. In our Kenyan situation, we call them curriculum designs. So it is important for the teachers to learn how to interpret the curriculum. Otherwise, their delivery will not be what it is supposed to be. They also need to have to be equipped with skills to carry out assessment based on the curriculum, and facilitation that also emphasizes critical competencies beyond academics. For competencies that are beyond academics. This means that we shall be preparing learners with skills that go beyond memorizing subject content, and also competencies and values that will help the learners to succeed in life, to succeed at workplace when they get there, and also to succeed and also fit in global contexts.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Judy. Chantal, I think Judy is speaking to you without speaking to you really, because you are the partners on the Leaders in Teaching program by the Mastercard Foundation. So let me hear your thoughts on this one.
Much as we have issues, challenges, there are some countries that really have done well. So it's important on the continent to know where those good practices are and to learn from each other. And I like what Judith is saying. Exchange, learning from each other is something very important. And it's something that the center is trying to promoting, where we bring together professional development providers for them to learn from each other, because sharing good practices, experiences, challenges, and how they have overcome those. So it's something we are aiming to doing. And I'm sure Kenya is one of our targeted countries, and there's hope one day. I think technology will finally be leveraged throughout the continent.
Thank you so much. I believe we've had such a rich conversation. Now, the challenge here is to make sure that the people that need to listen and make decisions are actually going to follow this conversation. But I want to say a big thank you to you all, and looking forward to really engaging you more in different topics around EdTech across the African continent. My name is Doreen Bira. Thank you all for watching. Until the next one, bye-bye for now.